and also because gold got discovered down on the South Island. It wouldn't be until the 20th century that the North Island would recover its larger share.
Bro, look at him, no, bro. Like, I don't mean to just be doing this, bro, but bro, he's standing there like he owned this bitch. You know what I'm saying? That shit just be, bro. Oh, he's standing there like he owned this motherfucker. Like, 2 years, bro. 2 years I've been watching stuff like this, man. I don't know if it's ever gonna stop. I don't think it ever will stop. I'm kind of invested in this country, man. More than anybody that I know. You feel me? So we here again, bro. Why 80% of New Zealand is empty? It's empty. So I was recently talking to somebody from New Zealand yesterday, and she was telling me about she was breaking down like the history and stuff with the Maori people a little bit more. And I know I'm still learning, bro, like day by day what's going on with y'all, man. And it's a little bit similar with what happened over here, like really just in the grand scheme, bro. Them colonizers came and just a tornado flew around my room. No, a tornado flew around our countries. It was cool before you came. Clean up the mess you made. You know what I'm saying? But let's go ahead and check this out. If you hear that wind, it's outside. I don't know how that's even happening. But let's check out why 80% New Zealand is empty, bro. I didn't even know that. First of all, 80% is empty. Did y'all know that? I'm about to find out, bro. Come on. You know what I'm saying?
We live in New Zealand. As you can see, nearly 80% of the country's land area is completely uninhabited by humans, which is kind of weird when you think about it at first because New Zealand is both probably bigger than you think it is and has a very good climate for people to live in. The South Island and the North Island are respectively the 12th and 14th largest islands in the world, and if placed over the United States, they would stretch across the East Coast from Florida up through Pennsylvania.
Oh, hey, I thought New Zealand was smaller than that. New Zealand is big for real. I thought y'all was tiny. Cause the population is like 5 million people, so I thought New Zealand could fit into like Florida and Georgia. I didn't know y'all was that big. Damn, that's a lot. Okay.
Together, the two main islands in New Zealand are even larger than the United Kingdom, and just like the UK, they share an almost identical climate with similar temperatures all throughout the year and similar levels of rainfall. The Köppen designated climate type for the UK, Ireland, and the vast majority of New Zealand is oceanic and temperate, typically consisting of no dry season, warm summers, and mild winters. If you look at a worldwide map of where this climate type and similar climates can be found, they include several of the most densely populated places in the world, like most of Western Europe, Vancouver, Mexico City, Lima and Cusco, Johannesburg, and the actually settled parts of southeastern Australia. One of the largest outliers here is, of course, New Zealand, who despite having an overall climate that is nearly identical to the United Kingdom and is even larger in size, it's also vastly less populated. The UK is a
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, why does UK have more people and much more of a impact on culture than like New Zealand? That's interesting, but like, why does New Zealand not have an impact on culture for it? Like, the UK got an impact, African Americans, we the minority over here. Well, not really, bro. We really the majority, but we got a big impact on culture. I mean, culture is like I can't really say culture, but I mean influence on the world. Like a lot of things that people do, it stems from either like black people, and I can't speak for other races. I don't know too much, but I know a lot of stuff people don't even know be coming from like black people and stuff. A lot of things I don't think really come from New Zealand. That's just interesting. Like, I wonder why y'all don't really get talked about that much, bro. Literally, you know what I'm saying?
Population today that is nearing 69 million people, while New Zealand barely has a hair more than 5 million, or nearly 14 times fewer people. In fact, New Zealand's combined landmass has a lower population than a ton of other smaller islands around the world, all despite their larger size and more ideal climate. Most evidence of all by the smaller islands like Java, Honshu, and Great Britain, all of which are smaller than New Zealand and yet have orders of magnitude more people living on them. To really hit the point home here, the population density in the UK is on average 281 people per square kilometer, while in New Zealand, it's only 18 people per square kilometer. The UK is therefore 15 times as densely populated as New Zealand is. So, why is New Zealand so much more comparatively empty despite the similar size and similar climate? The answers are complex and fascinating, but the thing about New Zealand's population pattern is that it only appears to get even stranger the more and more you actually look at it.
Before he answered the question, I know what it is. I know what it is, bro. I know why y'all don't got, cause it's the sheep. The sheep low-key bully. Y'all don't want to talk about it. The sheep is bullying y'all, man. The sheep is big dog in their land. Like, the sheep not letting y'all live in the areas, bro. 80% is not lived in. I never knew. I didn't know that. That's why I asked in my other video, like, how do y'all have traffic if it's so little people? Like, y'all have 5 million people. It's 5 million people in the city I'm in. Or I think it's like 2-3 million. So then, like, traffic, that means y'all got to be in the same areas. So that means, like he said, 20% is only getting lived in. That's crazy, bro. 20% that's crazy, bro. That's really crazy.
Remember that something like 80% of the country is just totally uninhabited. But note the difference in that amount of uninhabited land between the two main islands. The vast majority of New Zealand's population, more than 3/4 of them, all live more clustered together up on the North Island, while less than 1/4 of them live much more spread out across the geographically larger South Island. So the smaller North Island has a lot more people than the South Island does, but even then, almost half of all the North Islanders just live around the primary city of New Zealand, Auckland. This is by far the biggest city that New Zealand has got, strategically located along an isthmus with good natural harbors to the north and the south and placed over a dormant volcanic field with fairly fertile soils. The Auckland region alone is home to some 37% of all modern New Zealanders and is fast approaching a population of 2 million people. This high concentration of people around just one city.
2 million people? Bro, leave that, like, I ain't gonna lie. Nah, I can't tell what to do, but damn, 2 million is in Auckland alone. That's like that's not more than half, but that's right there. That's like, what, 40% of people? 40% of people is in one city. Because if you got 5 million people and it's 2 million in Auckland, that's like close to 40, 35 to like 47% is in Auckland, bro. Damn. That's ridiculous, bro. It's crazy.
It makes New Zealand one of the most highly centralized countries anywhere in the developed world. For the sake of comparison, these are the percentages of a few other countries' populations in their biggest cities from around the world. So including Auckland, the North Island is home to 4 out of 5 of New Zealand's largest cities, with the largest down on the South Island being Christchurch, placed upon the flat plains of Canterbury. But if you exclude the urban area around Christchurch, the population density across the rest of the South Island, an island that's roughly the same size as the Netherlands plus another half of Belgium, is basically almost barren at only about 5.4 people per square kilometer on average. About as empty as the states of North and South Dakota in the United States.
Hey,
and this is actually strange today because—
Nah, that's crazy. It's no wonder why, like, them the only cities that I hear about. I swear, it's like I only hear about 5 cities, bro. Like, the cities that was on the list. Let me see. What cities was it, bro? Yeah, these really the only ones I be hearing about. And then, like, so Wellington, I hear a lot about Wellington, Auckland, Christchurch, Tauranga, Hamilton, and what's some more? Like Queenstown. What else, bro? Mount something. Like, them really the only cities you won't really hear about, bro. So Wellington is in second place. No, Christchurch is in second place, and then Wellington. Damn. That's crazy though, bro.
Barren at only about 5.4 people per square kilometer on average. About as empty as the states of North and South Dakota in the United States. And this is actually strange today because historically, back during the 19th and early 20th centuries, it was actually the South Island that had more people on it than the North Island. Now, of course, the biggest and most obvious factor explaining New Zealand's relative emptiness is simply its sheer isolation away from the rest of the world. There are some cartographers who prefer to divide the planet into 2 separate halves, the land hemisphere and the water hemisphere. And within the water hemisphere, New Zealand is placed almost directly within the center. The closest other large landmass to them is, of course, Australia, but they are separated by nearly 2,000 kilometers across the open ocean of the Tasman Sea. And other than that, it's all just scattered islands, Antarctica, or open, empty ocean for thousands of kilometers away in every single direction. Even today, because there's simply so little a note down here, air and maritime traffic around the South Pacific is the most empty spot on the globe. It still takes nearly 4 hours.
Hey, look, real life Lord. We need to know what beat this is in the background, man. We need to figure out what beat this is in the background. Need to figure out what beat this is. Y'all hear that?
Hour flight just to hop between Auckland and Sydney, which is roughly comparable to a flight between London and Athens across the whole of Europe. And that's just New Zealand's closest neighbor. For most of Europe, New Zealand is quite literally the furthest place away they can get without leaving the planet itself in a space. Because New Zealand exists precisely on the opposite side of the world from much of modern-day Spain and Portugal. It simply takes time for people to get to or get off New Zealand even in the 21st century.
Flight,
and it is because of this extreme isolation from the rest of the world that New Zealand was always fated to become the final large habitable landmass on the Earth's surface to ever be discovered by humans. It remains on the Earth's surface to ever be discovered by humans. It remained an isolated, perfectly untouched by humans ecosystem throughout all of history and civilization until a group of Polynesian explorers likely happened to stumble upon it by mere chance sometime during the 13th century, at about the same time as Genghis Khan and the Mongols were rampaging across Eurasia. From there, over the span of centuries, the initial Polynesian settlers developed a unique culture of their own, the Maori, and they remained undisturbed on the islands by any other humans from the outside world until—
Yes, I was wrong, my bad. My bad. You gotta admit when you wrong sometimes. I thought he was saying something else, but I spoke too soon. I was wrong. So yeah, the Maoris, they discovered it in the 1300s. I thought y'all was born in New Zealand. I thought y'all was born over there. I guess not though.
Until the mid-17th century, when a Dutch sailor became the first non-Polynesian to ever discover and visit them. But sustained and lasting European contact with the islands didn't really begin later until 1769, when the British sailor Captain Cook visited the islands nearly 5 centuries after the Maori had first discovered and settled them. Simply put, other islands around the world like Great Britain, Java, Honshu, and many others have just had far more time to develop and expand their populations than New Zealand has. Many of these islands have been settled by humans for tens of thousands of years, simply because they exist nearer to the edges of major continental landmasses and were thus discovered by people millennia before New Zealand ever was.
Bro, honestly though, y'all should be grateful that like nobody's really bothering y'all, because you don't want like the little germs to just fickle off to New Zealand. Like people that going over there, they probably genuinely want to be over there. So it's low-key a blessing in disguise. Like people that's just over there in France is not about to just get up and go to New Zealand just cause they bored. Like no, they're gonna go over there cause they want to. So they might have a motive and an intent. Hopefully it's a good intent. But so that might be a good thing, you know, for real. But I heard that China over there getting up all that real estate, so you never know what might happen. But I think it's a good thing, you know, that nobody's really over there with y'all. I don't know if, I just found out that y'all got GMO fruit too. It's tragic. Because I was going to say, I don't know if these big companies and corporations is really bothering y'all. But if y'all got the GMO fruit, it's too late. It's too late.
As recently as the 13th century, New Zealand's human population was literally zero, whereas other medieval islands like Japan and Great Britain already numbered in the millions. About where New Zealand is only at today in the 21st century. Having more people to start with simply means having more people later on, as more people are available to reproduce. And the Maori of New Zealand were starting completely from scratch just 800 years ago, which really isn't that long ago historically, based on several assumptions and not rooted in anything really other than basically guesswork. Modern demographers usually estimate that the Maori population on New Zealand likely numbered around 200,000 individuals after 5 centuries of living there by the time the British arrived. And subsequently, their population began to crash significantly. By 1840, the British Empire began formally incorporating New Zealand into a colonial possession, and a flood of immigrants to the islands coming from Britain and Ireland began. Through a combination of various factors like European-introduced diseases that the Maori—
Britain and Ireland just couldn't resist, bro. They just started. Britain and Ireland was like a dog, like, you know how when a dog, like they be, that was them when they, New Zealand, they just ran over there, gave y'all a fake treaty. Take this treaty, give me that. Took the land. Be mad, bro.
Britain and Ireland began. Through a combination of various factors like European-introduced diseases that the Maori lacked any immunities to, warfare and violence between the colonizers and the indigenous Maori, and the forced introduction of a brand new legal and justice system that was unfamiliar to them, the Maori population of New Zealand—
And I know I'm pausing it a lot, bro, and I just found out yesterday that the Maori, bro, they didn't even know what drinking or smoking was, man. So they came and dropped that on y'all too. Cause they dropped that bad habit on y'all. They didn't even know what drinking and smoking was. Crazy.
Indigenous Maori, and the forced introduction of a brand new legal and justice system that was unfamiliar to them. The Maori population of New Zealand plummeted from around 200,000 at the time of contact in 1769 to only around 40,000 a tad more than a century later in 1890.
Whoa.
But by that point, around 500,000 white European
No, bruh. It was 200,000 of the people that was already there. And this go for any country. I'm not even acting like this just because it's New Zealand, bro. Like, if I heard this about Ireland, bro, Scotland, whatever, it would be the same way. Like, bro, it was 200,000 people because right is right, wrong is wrong, bro. You know what I'm saying? Right is right, wrong is wrong. Like I said, bro, the Europeans, they was thirsty. Oh, new land that it hasn't been colonized by us. They got on a sprint. Who could get over there the fastest? You know what I'm saying? 200,000 Maoris was over there, bro. 200,000 people. And then less than 100 years, what's that, 100 years? Like 121 years? 121 years later. 121 years later, which is like not even 2 generations. 1.5 generations. 40,000 people left? Do you know what that means? Like, that's a lot of like untold story. That's a lot of untold death. That's a lot of untold, like, a lot of people, ancestors, like, that could have lived longer, made other kids. Like, that's just tragic, bro. It's really tragic, bro. 200,000 to 40,000. That numbers is ridiculous, bro. That's not even half. Is that even a quarter? 20, 25? I don't even think that's about a quarter, bro. That's crazy. And then they came and flooded this hole. And then they came and so it was 200,000. Then they took it down to 40,000. Then they came and doubled and then some what was originally there. 200,000 times 2 is 400,000. They came with 500,000 people. Honey, let's get up and go to Did you hear about the new place that they found? What place is it, honey? I don't know if it was called New Zealand, but it's New Zealand. We should go over there. You know, families was packing their bags, getting their stuff. They probably had brochures, new untouched land to all the Europeans, new untouched land. We gonna name it New Zealand, whatever the hell. And they just was fascinated. Oh, let's get up and go to New Zealand. It's tragic, bro. Tragic.
Colonists, mostly coming from Britain and Ireland, had arrived to the islands and mostly replaced them. Now, initially during the colonization process, most of the new European settlers who came decided to set up shop down on the South Island, because the North Island was a lot more inhabited by the indigenous Maori, and so more of the colonial wars and violence were taking place up there, and also because gold got discovered down on the South Island. It wouldn't be until the 20th century that the North Island would recover its larger share.
Bro, look at him, no, bro, like, I don't mean to just be doing this, bro, but, bro, he's standing there like he owned this bitch. You know what I'm saying? That shit just be, bro. Oh, he's standing there like he owned this motherfucker. Like, look how he's standing there like he just, like they just, bro, who they think they are? I don't like that shit, bro.
The population. But it was basically always destined to happen and get to the point where we are today, where over 3/4 of everyone live up on the North Island. Because, as it turns out, the South Island is actually pretty difficult to build any civilization on. For starters, the South Island is significantly more mountainous than the North Island is. This is because beneath the surface, New Zealand exists precisely along the intersection of the Pacific and Australian tectonic plates. But beneath the South Island, the westward moving Pacific plate is crashing into and subducting beneath the northwest moving Australian plate. Over the past 45 million years, the collision of these two plates here has thrust up 20 kilometers worth of rocks to form the Southern Alps, running along nearly the entire length of the whole South Island. And their name is fitting because this mountain range really is about on a par with the scale of the original Alps in Europe. There are 18 peaks in this range that exceed 3,000 meters in elevation, while the tallest of them stands at more than 3,700 meters and is.
Check this out, y'all. I'm gonna have to come back and watch this video later. I'm about to go get my hair retwisted. Shout out to 7 Kinnics. I'm about to get my hair retwisted. This is crazy though. I'm gonna go get my hair retwisted. I'm gonna talk to y'all. I'm gonna watch the part. I'm gonna watch the rest of this. Or I think I'm gonna watch it. I'll put it all in one video. I don't know. I might put it all in one video, or I might upload it by itself. I don't know. It just depends. I think I might put this in part 1 just so I can save myself on time, I guess. But yes, ridiculous, man, ridiculous. So these videos is not gonna be longer too. But I'm about to get my hair retwisted. I'm gonna talk to y'all, man. I'm gone. Let's get it.